So welcome to the Be Your Own Muse Masterclass from Montreal. Hey, Lydia. Welcome to the Be Your Own Muse Masterclass. Today is about tapping into your expression, allowing yourself to be seen, and really reclaiming the feminine. Be Your Own Muse is a concept. It's really, truly all about self-love at the end of the day. So I'd like to get started with everyone just dropping in and naming one thing they love about themselves. Just like tuning into that. And like feeling, what is it one thing that you love about yourself that you can celebrate today? I always love starting all my sessions with a celebration and honoring of the self. So if you want to drop it into the chat box. Yay, Verdi from Costa Rica. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sarah, your creativity, beautiful. And that's what we're talking about today as well, is creativity and allowing yourself to be seen in your creativity and your expression. So it's perfect.
Sabrina Gravity Waves.
Yeah. Oh, I think some people are not muted. You can mute yourself as you enter the room. Beautiful. Your kindness, beautiful, Lydia. Okay, everyone's muted. No worries. No worries, Kay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just dropping in and celebrating and sharing something we all love about ourselves, because Be Your Own Muse is really about loving yourself, honoring your feminine. Ooh, inner summer happening right now. Beautiful. Compassion. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love that you're all courage. Amazing, Maria. Beautiful. So, thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for being here, for taking the time to honor and celebrate something that, you know, our culture doesn't necessarily encourage, the feminine. And just to give you an idea of what we'll be diving into today is tapping into your feminine energy, why it's so important, what feminine embodiment is, what feminine magnetism is. Then we're going to go into how to tell if your inner fuckboy is blocking your magnetism. So this is more about the masculine, and we'll dive into that. And then the third stage will be a time for Q&A. And then I have a special announcement at the end for a new group program that I'm launching, and a special offer just for you. So you can stick around to the end for that. And before diving in, I want to begin by just checking in to see if you're in the right place and to tune into why you're here. So you're probably here and attracted to my message and to this masterclass because you have a deep, deep desire to be seen. You know that there's something more. You know there's something inside you that just wants to be expressed. You know you have so much to offer. You have so much to share. And you have this like feeling that you're like, I just want to be seen in this. And maybe there's pieces that come up around fear of judgment, or fear that it's too much, or fear that you just don't know how to go about expressing that. But you know that you want to. And you know that you want to express, and you want to just move, and you want to just let go and just be free to just show up online, or to show up in your real life, to use your voice, to really share your art, your service, your medicine, everything that's inside you that you're like, I just want this to like, be out there, right? And that's what people come to me for a lot. It's really this sense of freedom. It's a sense of freedom that really comes from allowing yourself to be expressed and allowing your feminine to be seen. And so, you know, people will look at my Instagram and, you know, I share my pole dancing videos and I share my message and I show up in my own way. And people are like, okay, how do you do that though? Like, how do you let go of the judgment? That's the big one, right? And that's what we'll be diving into today. So if this resonates with you, if you have this desire, if you're already feeling like, yes, 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 this is what I want, let me know in the comments. Drop a yes. Or if there's anything else that you're like, okay, this is why I'm here, Yes, Maria, amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, Lydia. Yes, 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 yes. Hell yes. Yes, Sarah. So freedom, right? Freedom. That's what expression is. That's what creativity is. And I want you to know that this is so possible for you. Even if you're someone that feels introverted or that feels shy or that feels, afraid that maybe someone on Instagram and like your family member or like someone from high school is going to see it and judge you. Like you can, sorry, I'm just letting people in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So even if you have these blocks and you have these ideas about like stories about why you can't show up, it is so possible for you. I've seen it time and time again with my one-on-one clients. I've seen it in my own journey. It is so possible for you to show up unapologetically as this expressed woman that just accepts and loves all parts of herself and isn't blocked by perfectionism or by fear of judgment. My own journey has been going from being really, really, really shy. I'm sure some of you have already, heard a little bit about my story, but I'll share it briefly. I studied business and I came from a very masculine background. So I was super disconnected from my feminine, actually. I was disconnected from my sensuality, my sexuality, my emotions, my intuition. Just mute. And I was really, 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 really blocked. I was really disconnected. And I was even, using alcohol to try to like numb my feminine in a way. I didn't feel comfortable being myself. I didn't feel comfortable expressing. I was so shy. And I always loved dancing as a kid, but even in my 20s, I was like feeling really like unable to express and be seen in my expression. I had to be drunk to be able to dance publicly. And this has been such a journey. And this is why I'm so passionate about this work, is that it's been such a journey of reclaiming my feminine. I ended up launching an online lingerie store that really helped me reconnect to my sensuality and reconnect to other women. And that was part of my healing journey. And then pole dancing, and then all the feminine embodiment work and spirituality and goddess consciousness. And so this combination of my business and all the inner work that I was doing really allowed me to break free from these trappings, from the conditioning. And so that's what I help women with now. I help women with their online branding, but it's really truly about allowing themselves to be seen, allowing yourself to be seen in your expression, in your art, in your creativity, in your service. So that's my journey. And if I can do it, like literally anyone can. I really truly believe that. And I've seen it happen. So you're in the right place. So I want to get started by first talking about what feminine and masculine energy really is. It's not necessarily related to gender. I mean, it is in some regards, but we all carry both feminine and masculine energy within us. And the key is that we really want to balance these. But we live in a society that really focuses on the masculine and doesn't put that much importance and actually shames the feminine. So I want to go through a few of the energetics and the principles of masculine and feminine so you can really understand what it's about. So the main thing to understand is that the masculine is the external, the visible, it's the mind, and the feminine is the internal, the invisible, the mystery, the feeling, the body. And so this manifests in different ways. For example, I want to go straight to will and desire. Will is like taking action. It's making decisions. It's very like, okay, making that decision and moving forward. Desire is it's a more mind thing, whereas desire is more of a feeling. It's more in the body. So what happens here is if you take a look at your life and notice if you've ever felt that desire was shame, that you block yourself off from even wanting things because in case you might not get them. Even in a lot of spiritual circles, desire is seen as bad, like, oh, you have to annihilate all desire. And yet desire is the energy that sparks life, that sparks creation. We were all born because of desire, right? Like we all came from this, like, okay, there's a desire to express love. There's a desire to accomplish something. There's a desire for whatever it is that you want in life that pulls you forward. And your desires, you don't get to choose them, right? They're just inside you. They're placed in you by the divine, and they pull you forward, and they actually make you come forward. And so when you're blocking your flow of energy, that flow of desire, you're blocking your energy, and you're not allowing yourself to feel and to be cracked open by that desire. And so you're blocking your feminine. So I'm curious, have any of you in your life like blocked yourself from wanting things? Or do you feel really comfortable with desire? Many times, yeah. Yep, blocking. Yeah, it's super common for the feminine. I remember my mom always saying like, no, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I'm good. I have everything. Like her basic needs were covered. And that was like a model that I had, right? It's like, I don't need anything. I'm good. And then that keeps you at that level, right? You're not allowing yourself to want, so you're not allowing yourself to expand. And it feels safer this way. Yes, Chelsea, exactly. It feels safer to just be like, okay, like I have my little stuff and I'm not going to even give myself permission to want more, to be seen more, to be more expressed, to claim more. So right now, and this is like the first step, this is like one of the main, like most important energetics of the feminine. I want us all, I love dreaming about my desire. Actually, the desire never felt safe, right? So at least you're dreaming about your desire. That's amazing. You're giving yourself like permission to want something. I remember for the longest time, I didn't even admit that I wanted a relationship. And like, I was like, why don't I have any relationships? But it's like, I never even said to myself that I wanted one, you know? And then it's like, of course you can't get things you want if you don't give yourself that permission, right? So I want us all right now, like to drop in and be like, okay, what is it that I want? You know, it could be, what do you want today? Like from this masterclass, like what's your desire in being here? You can already just tune into that. Like, why are you here? Let's claim our desires and already start activating the feminine within us. Like, what's the vision of yourself that you believe you can have, or that you really want? Maybe you don't even believe you can have it, but that you really want from tapping into your feminine and being your own muse. I want to feel free. Yep. That's the one. I want to be able to express myself. Beautiful. Okay. More confident and less shy. Yes, 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 yes. And these are the ones like I hear over and over again. Like we all know what we have inside us and we just want to let it out. Is there any other desires that anyone wants to share? It's also really powerful to claim it out loud if you use your voice. You know, we've been silenced for so long that using our throat chakra also activates something. So if you want to just say it out loud, that's why spells really work. Our language is spelling. I want to have clarity, and to have clarity, I'm seeing that I have to start communicating what I want, desiring to communicate. Exactly. So beautiful. As I was talking about the throat chakra, I was so aligned, Chelsea. I love it. Stepping out of blame and shame from myself and others. Ah, yes, yes, yes. We're going to be talking about shame a lot, blame, guilt, those feelings that come in the way and that block us from being able to express and be seen. Whew, these are amazing. Yeah. So I want to be seen. I want to be me. So tired of not being me. Yes. Oh my God. Right? It's just peeling away the layers and allowing ourselves to just be who we are. And that's another feminine energetic. So I'm going to skip right there. Doing versus being. The masculine is the action oriented. It's that directed movement energy of doing, not necessarily movement, but doing. And the feminine, she's all being, right? She just is. She's comfortable just being herself. And that's the energy of the muse. The muse, just by her beingness, inspires. And we'll talk about what a muse is after this, but just to already plant that seed. Some of the other feminine energetics here that I think are important to touch on. as we're talking about claiming our desire, is this idea of, this one I love, linear versus cyclical. Like our society, everything is like timeline, directed, like needing to hit certain milestones by a certain time. And we're always chasing goals. We're always looking forward. And the truth of everything is that we exist, everything exists in cycles. Nature is cyclical. Our bodies are cyclical. So by believing that we have to be always linear, always moving forward, always one way, we're not honoring the cyclical nature of being women. And so when we're able to reclaim that, we're able to accept and embrace all sides of ourselves. So that's another really important piece, living cyclically. That's embracing our feminine. And then there's stillness versus movement. I'm sure if you've ever studied meditation or taken a class or read up about it, it's all about stillness and emptying the mind and nothingness. And yet some of my most powerful meditations have been movement meditations, where I fall into a trance, and I have access like other states of higher states of consciousness, and it's like, whew, powerful. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's really important to honor both, because for the longest time, still today, the feminine is placed beneath the masculine. So what we're trying to do here is bring light to the feminine so that we can reclaim it within ourselves and bring it back to balance. There's a few more of you that popped in with your desires. Yes, yes, yes. I love hearing you claim your desires. My service, my gifts, my purpose, deeply embodying each part of the journey. Beautiful. I want to praise myself more. Oh yes, this is the self-love journey, right? That's like the first step, is that intimacy with yourself. Beautiful. I've been living deeply in my cycle for 2 years. I know myself deeper and honor myself, right? It's like when we're able to tune into our bodies and tune into our cyclical nature, it's like a reclamation, and there's so much power that comes from being able to honor every phase. Thanks for sharing that, Birdie. Okay, so giving versus receiving. This one is really interesting, because I think a lot of the time, if we think of mothers, we think of women and they're always giving and they're always nurturing and they're giving, giving, giving. And yet they're super depleted, right? And we think that giving is a feminine trait. But if you think about it, it's like, it's putting outwards. So it's actually masculine energy, and the feminine is receptivity. The feminine receives, and that's why she's so depleted, because there's no balance there. Always giving takes out, and we're not learning how to receive. We have to allow the cycle of giving and receiving to continue so that we can expand and grow and feel full and energized. And yet in our society, we're like, oh, we always have to give, we always have to give. So the feminine is receptivity. Then there's knowledge versus intuition. How many of us have been told like that our intuition is bullshit, that not to trust our gut feeling, to not trust our body, to not trust our emotions, and like we need facts, it needs to be proven. I used to be a fashion buyer, and I always was like, this is gonna be a trend, I just know it. And then my boss was like, yeah, but can you prove it? Like, show me the numbers. And I'm like, I can't, but I know. And so like, this happens with like science, all the things, right? Like, I love science, it's great, but like women, we just know we're connected to our intuition, and it's not valued, but it's a deep source of power. So it's also reclaiming that for ourselves. Oh, someone's unmuted again. Okay, I think it's all good. All right. And then finally, purpose versus pleasure. So this, as someone who has like a business background, and I help people with branding, this is a really fun one for me, because my whole life, you know, I'm sure you've heard this, like, you don't mix business with pleasure. And like, the thing is, like, yes, you do. That's the key, actually. So purpose is amazing. It helps you feel safe and directed and anchored. And we all are here because we have a purpose and we want to share, and we have a message, you know, we have a soul mission. And pleasure is the thing that actually activates your magnetism. When you're in states of pleasure, that's a ripple effect that affects other people, and you become the vortex, right? So pleasure is how you create a sustainable business. It's how you keep showing up. It's how you keep showing up for your mission. So again, both of these are so important. And, you know, we exist in like a hustle culture where it's like, destroy your body. Like, it's not about you, all the things. And it's like, no, no, no. We need to balance these energetics. So that gives you a kind of idea of the energetics of the feminine, the things we'll be talking about. These are the topics that will also be in my group program that we dive into even more. And so now that we understand the energetics, the definition, when you drop into your feminine, once you embody all of these feminine traits, all of this feminine energy, when you start activating it and being in that state of beingness, of pleasure, when you start owning your cyclical nature, when you start trusting your intuition, all of these elements, this is when you become so magnetic, and you start attracting everything that you want, because you are creating polarity. So if you think of a magnet, there's a plus and a minus. If there's two pluses, you're gonna repel, right? So this is like, you know, feminism was amazing and it was so needed, and we're all so grateful it did so much for us, but there's a missing piece now today that still there's this like idea that women have to be like men in order to exist in this world, to be successful. And it takes away from this idea that we still get to be feminine, that we get to be in our feminine and we get to attract from that place. So when you're a minus, you attract the plus. So when you drop into your feminine, you start attracting all that masculine energy. So instead of having to chase, you attract. And that's the beauty of it. It becomes more easeful. And you get to be in your feminine, which is so fun. You get to express, you get to enjoy, and you get to have everything that you want without trying so hard. And that's really the beauty of doing this work, of dropping into your feminine. You become the vortex, you know? So, and here I wrote the feminine leads and the masculine follows. So what does that mean? The feminine leads with her beingness. She leads with her pleasure, with her desire, and then she inspires the masculine to take action. So that's why we always start by tapping into our desire and feeling and our emotions as our superpowers, and then we start taking the action from that place. We don't take action and then try to get our feminine on board. You know, it starts with it. And to illustrate also like how the feminine is actually magnetic, think of our physical bodies. Like a woman's body, our yoni is internal, right? Our womb, it's like the darkness, the mystery. So we take in, like the masculine is the external, it's the outside, and then the feminine actually takes in. If you've ever used a yoni egg, you'll have like such a perfect example of how magnetic the feminine is. If you have a yoni egg, one of those crystal yoni eggs, if you put it near your yoni, you'll notice that it will suck it up. Like your body actually does this like sucking motion. So we literally physically suck in the masculine, suck in the physical. So yes, the feminine is magnetic. So I wanted to also ask, do you notice in your life, oh, I heard that pleasure and joy is expression of love. Exactly. And love is the feminine energetic and consciousness is the masculine energetic. Yes, Maria. So do you in your life notice any places that you are pushing or forcing or chasing anytime that you're more in the masculine and that you're noticing like, yeah, okay, I'm coming up to some resistance, you know, like it's not coming easily to me. I feel like I'm always putting this energy outward, chasing something or like trying to get the thing that I want instead of it coming to me. Do you notice like anywhere in your life that this is happening? Yes, in relationships, I chase instead of attract. Oh, that's like the perfect example. Even in my business coaching, we always talk about relationships because they're the best example of like the feminine and masculine. It's like so literal there. And then once you heal it in relationships, you heal it in your business. Once you heal it in business, it heals in your relationships. It's the same energetics, which is so fun. Yes, Birdie, and money. Yes, money is masculine energetic, right? You want money to come to you instead of going like, oh, like chasing. Yep. Yeah, and it's also a practice of like, you know, once you start understanding like and playing with the feminine energetics, masculine energetics, you're like, okay, wait, how can I seduce money? If money is the masculine, how can I drop into my feminine and call in money? And that's what we're doing here, right? Chelsea, control and constriction when I'm moving from fear and scarcity. relationships, money, big decisions. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I feel that. When we feel unsafe, sometimes we default to the masculine. It's totally normal because it's how we find that sense of safety. Exactly. And it's how we're like, okay, if I have proof, if I can see, if I can touch it, if I have the tangible, like, I'll be okay. And the feminine practice is like, can I drop into trust? Can I trust that I'm divinely guided? Can I trust my body to guide me in every moment? Can I trust my heart? Can I trust my womb? Can I trust? Because the feminine is also surrender, right? It's letting go of control. Yes, I love these. Thank you so much for sharing. So, by now we understand the concept of feminine energetics, why they're so important to create that magnetism. And also, I just want to add that when the feminine comes back into balance within ourselves, that's our job first, right? If we want to change the world, we start with ourselves because it's a microcosm of the macrocosm. The inner reflects the outer. We start with ourselves, hence the concept of Be Your Own Muse. And when we heal the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine within ourselves, we're healing the wounded masculine. We're inspiring. When we're in our feminine, we inspire the masculine to show up in his divine masculine, not in the wounded masculine, which is what's going on the planet right now. It's literally like, this is more than just like, yes, okay, like, yes, we get to feel good, we get to be in our pleasure, we get to express, we get to be seen, all those amazing things. And the result of that is also like to keep in mind when we're afraid of showing up, when we're afraid of being in our feminine, when we're holding back, like, remember that you being in your feminine is a type of activism. Like, it's a type of like saying like, no, like, I get shivers whenever I think about that. It's like, being in our feminine is how we heal this planet, because it inspires others to, one, express themselves as well, to be in the fullness of who they are, to be in the balance of the masculine and feminine, and it calls on the masculine within everyone to rise up as well. And then once we have that balance, then it heals like all the problems that are going on in the world. So I feel like that's a really also important piece, and something that can help motivate you when you're in those times of doubt and fear and self-judgment. It's so much more than just about us. It's like beyond this. And I know you're here and because you also care about making an impact. All right, so how does everyone feel right now? Does that all make sense? Feel free to pop in, ask any questions or anything as we go. We don't have to wait till the end either. Okay, it looks like it's good. Yes, everything's good. Awesome. Okay, so be your own muse. That's what we're all about today. That's why we're here. But what does that even mean? So a muse is a muse. Like, what does a muse like mean to you? Like, what is that? What does it bring up in your body when you think of a muse? Like, I see this like, you know, like really embodied woman who's like very sensual, who's very like in her own aura, like in her own beingness, that inspires like artists and like inspires creativity, and is just like living her life, and people are just creating art around her, around that, and they're just so activated by her essence. So the definition you can read here, and it's basically that. It inspires people to write, to paint, or make music. And so the concept of be your own muse is basically the allowing yourself to be the inspiration for yourself. So it's the marriage of the masculine and the feminine. You get to be the artist and you get to be the muse. And this actually was born from when I used to use this phrase as like a tagline all the time when I had my online lingerie store, because sensual selfies were a part of my self-love practice, and I would share a lot about it, and I actually had a course about it, to practice being the artist and the muse and photographing yourself and giving yourself permission to be seen and celebrated, but without having to wait for anyone else to give you that permission. You know, it's really symbolizing the sacred union of your masculine and feminine within. So for me, this is a really important, like beautiful, like symbolism. And also I really love the definition that speaks about Greek mythology and how the 9 goddesses were presiding over the arts and sciences. So like, how perfect is that? The arts are the feminine and the sciences are the masculine. And these muses were like overlooking that, you know? So up to now, we understand the concept of feminine energy. We understand feminine magnetism, like why it's so important, why we want to be in our feminine, why, you know, because it helps us become magnetic and claim and call in all that we want with less effort. So why aren't we all just in our feminine, right? Like if it was that easy. And that's the thing, there's a lot of blocks, and a lot of you already tapped into that today. You shared a little bit about what was coming up. And shame is like usually the number one. Guilt, fear of judgment. So how many of you have felt some of that fear of the feminine, like, or rejection of the feminine, or like fear expressing your sensuality, your intuition, your emotions, any of those pieces? I know some of you already shared that you did. Yes, definitely. Is there one that stands out more? Like, is there one realm that you're like, oh, this is like the hardest piece for me to express or be seen in, or like, this is the one thing that I'm so blocked in when it comes to expressing my feminine? Sensuality, yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. And sensuality and sexuality, like both of those are the things that we carry the most shame around. And it's not random, you know, it's really not random. The patriarchy did that very, 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 very intentionally, because when we're connected to our sexual energy, which is our life force energy, it doesn't mean having sex. It just means actually like owning that sexual power and expressing it in whatever way feels good to us. Like when they block us from that, they block us from our power to manifest, our power to create, our power to be expressed. Because when you're tapped into that energy, you're unfuckwithable, right? You set boundaries. You don't need anyone, like you don't need people. You get to want who you want. You get to claim your desires and call them in, but you don't actually need, you know, the government. You don't need men. You get to pick which ones you want to spend your time with, you know, and have around you. But there's this dependency that is gone. You know, you're a sovereign being, and you're like so, so, so powerful because you're in your pleasure and you can manifest whatever you want. So yeah, same here, Sarah, exactly. So it's not random. And if we look at you find that for me, it's hard to express my feminine in my family. Yeah, of course, because as a society, we have so many hangups around the feminine. So most people are afraid of it, right? They're afraid of it. So they're in judgment, because they're in judgment of it within themselves. And you're triggering something in them that it's not safe. Feeling safe being in my emotions, not being blamed or shamed for experiencing my emotions fully. Oh my God, yes. Thank you for sharing that. Emotions are something that are so shamed in our society, and yet they're like our biggest superpower. That's something that took me so long to discover. And then once you discover that, you're like, oh my God, your emotions are everything. Expressing your emotions is a superpower. Actually learning how to alchemize them and move them through your body and turn them into art is a superpower. Like there's so many things to do with your emotions, and to just like allow yourself to feel. Yeah, and it is your gift, exactly. So that's a big one. So talking about emotions, the shame is the emotion with the lowest frequency. So they're actually brilliant, right? These people in history that decided that they were going to make women feel ashamed of their sexuality and sensuality and feminine and their body and their cycles and their bleed, everything that we've been taught to be ashamed of. Shame is the lowest vibration. And then we look at it and we're like, okay, so it's the lowest vibration. And when you're in those low vibration emotions, the more you have, the harder it is to manifest, the harder it is to magnetize, because you have blockages, right? The energy isn't flowing through you. It's dense energy. It's like down there and it's very dense, and it's creating contraction. And so it's okay. We all have this, right? We all have emotions, and I'm not here to tell you do not have emotions, do not feel shame, do not feel guilt, and pretend that you don't have those, or that you don't experience those feelings, because you're not your feelings, you know. But they're there and they're real. And like, what can we do with them? You know, if we want to become magnetic and have that expanded sense of like love, joy, and peace in our bodies, right? So that we can call in more of what we want. Well, this is the beauty of emotional alchemy. So it's not bypassing, but it's looking at our emotions and actually feeling them all the way instead of running from them. We live in a society that, oh my God, is so afraid of feelings and emotions, but that's what we're here to do. And we get to embrace them, and we get to embrace all of us. And we become the alchemists, and that's what we do. You know, that's what I teach. I'll be teaching my group program, and I love to teach this. It's how to dance with your shadows, you know, how to play with them, how to play in the dark and get really comfortable. Instead of being victims, we go, okay, society, you're trying to condition me and make me feel ashamed of myself. I'm going to gather with like my soul sisters and on my own and with my people, and learn how to actually reclaim this part and not be a victim. And yes, play in the dark. I love that too, Kay. And just really own these parts of ourselves and learn how to transmute them, transform it, and use it to expand us even more. And that's the feminine. It's embracing all of it. It's not going, oh, just love and light. It's like, no, okay, here's the darkness. This is a part of me. How can I bring this, express it, feel it, and allow it to crack me open and make more room and more space and grow my power. And that's the beauty of like all this feminine work. It's like, there's no avoiding, you know, because our culture, we tend to avoid and sweep things under the rug. And then we overcompensate and we people please because we don't want to admit that we have these dark emotions, and we're like, oh, this is not okay. This is not acceptable. And it's like, yes, it's all acceptable. It's all welcome. Now, how are we going to play with it? How are we going to bring it into our bodies? So that's a practice of releasing good girl conditioning, releasing all this conditioning from society. And it happens through the body. So the process that I like to use is first, like what we did today, claiming our desires, feeling the vision, owning what we want, really embracing all of it. And then the second step is calling on our masculine. Okay, how do we create that sense of safety? Because our masculine has to join the party, right? We can't just be in the feminine. We need the support and protection of the masculine. So we call on our own inner masculine so that our feminine can feel safe to express. And we do this with boundaries. We do this with containers, creating safe containers, creating structure for ourselves. And that's how we create that safety, and calling on our inner masculine, having that relationship between the feminine and masculine. And then finally, it's through embodied action. So it's not just by thinking and feeling, it's actually taking those steps. And the way I like to do it is that I find so powerful and is really repatterning your subconscious through feminine embodiment, through bringing it into your body, through expression, creation, through, like creativity is such like one of the most powerful ways to actually transmute all of this stuff, all the beliefs we have around ourselves, and being witnessed. And that's why this work is so important, right? Allowing ourselves to be seen. It's being witnessed in all of us is one of the most healing things you can ever do. If you've ever had someone just hold space for you and just see you without trying to jump in and solve the problem for you, just looking at you and being like, it's okay, like you're still lovable. Like that's the masculine. That's how we want to like show up for our feminine. Oh my God, yes, Lydia. Oh yeah, and feel free to take screenshots or videos or whatever. If there's anything that really jumps out at you, you could share it on Instagram. Like if there's like anything that you're like, yes, I need to remember this. So yes, Lydia. And so that's like 3 steps. If you can like remember, like, okay, it's the feminine leads with her desire, the masculine creates that safety. And then it's like, how can I take action that feels really good? How can I move it through my body? How can I create from this place? And this is like what I'll dive into even more deeply in my program, Magnetic Muse, but just to give you an idea of like how to go through this process. I have a question. How to express us in business to show up bold but still stay in our feminine? Maria. That's a great question. So is there a belief that being bold is not feminine? Because you can definitely be in your feminine and be bold without being forceful, without chasing. Because the feminine is so strong, you know? The feminine is also like sacred rage. The feminine is also like using her voice and expressing herself. She can express herself boldly and take up space. And there is that warrior, that there could be that warrior energy as well that can still be very feminine. The feminine is the darkness. And boldness you can always stay in your feminine and show up bold without chasing, it's just like an assertiveness. It's having that balance between the two. Yes, feminine is bold, but how to not be too much masculine. In what ways? I guess it would depend in what ways you're feeling that you're masculine. I would say allow your feminine to lead. If you want, we could wait till the end and you can actually like pop up in video and we can like go through this. I'll ask you certain questions just to understand a little bit better. So let's save this for the end because I'd actually like to talk to you. I think it'll be easier. It'll be fun. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So now you're balancing the feminine and masculine so that you can create, right? That's how all creation is born. So to birth, you need to ground, you need to feel safe, you need to be expressed, you need to be in your feminine, and you let your creativity come through. And we've been talking a little bit about the masculine, and now I want to dive into the blocks again that come up. And we're going to take a look at whether there's also something else that comes into play. We talked about the blocks in society, but there's also something else that comes into play. And this picture makes me laugh. Is your inner fuckboy blocking your feminine expression? So I'm just gonna go ahead. If you guys have a paper or you want to take notes, journal about whether so ask yourself this question. How does the masculine, how do masculine beings, men or masculine beings, people with more masculine energy, even if they're not men, how do they treat you? What do they look like in your life? What's your relationship to them? Did everyone? So yeah, list out any traits, any behaviors. Maybe there's patterns that you're seeing of okay, there's always these guys, maybe not even right now, but just in your past, you're there's always these guys that treat me this way. Or maybe they're, maybe you attract emotionally unavailable men, or maybe they're super romantic, or maybe they're, whatever it is. Maybe they're very devoted, but also, or maybe they're really critical. What are the ways that they show up in your life? Has everyone got it? Unstable masculine. Yeah. Unstable. Is anyone else? Notice any patterns of how the masculine is showing up for them in their external world. Critical and anxious. They don't take me seriously. Hmm. I would attract controlling men in the past. Okay. Great. Okay, this is awesome. So now, oh, cannot handle, rejects my self-expression. Okay, so now take a moment and like notice aggressive, loud. Notice if this is how you treat your own inner feminine. So how the masculine treats you in your life, in your external reality, is a reflection of how your inner masculine is treating your inner feminine. When I first did this exercise, it blew my mind. Because I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't realize that I was being a fuckboy to my inner feminine. Like, I was really like, I was attracting these men that were really like, they saw me as a checklist. They were like, okay, you look good, you do this, like this fits like what I'm looking for, the criteria, but they didn't get to know me deeper. And then I realized like, oh my God, like I was just taking care of like the surface stuff. I was like, okay, I'm working out, I look good, but like I'm not actually honoring and doing, like I wasn't honoring my feminine. I wasn't celebrating her. I wasn't taking, like I wasn't doing self-care rituals for my own like love and devotion. It was like, it was for external reasons. It was like to look good so that I would get validation from the outside, right? I wasn't actually going deeper. And that's what was being reflected to me in the men that were attracting me. I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm doing this. They're just responding to me. Okay, I see some of you laughing. Yes, right? This is like, who else is having an aha moment right now? Chelsea, yeah. Okay, 100%. Bernie, yep. Okay, and it's fine. This is what we're here to reveal. Awareness is the first step. Once we catch it, we're like, okay, I see, I need to go deeper here. Yes, this is something to really go deeply in. So what you can do now is make a list and continue doing this after. But you can start, like, how do you want your king to show up for you in your external reality? Like, what do you want your masculine partner or the masculine in your life, how do you want him to show up for you? Like, do you want him to be devoted? Like, for me, I wanted someone who like loved me even in my like deep dark PMS phase, you know, who would just show up and be like, oh, you're grumpy and you're like feeling bloated, like it's cool, I love you, you know. Oh, like you messed up, you made a mistake, like don't worry babe, I got you, you know, like try again, I'm proud of you for trying. Like I want a man to show up for me in that energy. Like, what do you want? Like, what kind of behavior do you want your masculine to provide for you? You know, make that list, like get really specific, go in there. Like I wanted unconditional love, you know, like don't we want that? Like we don't, like your king won't judge you, you know, he won't be like, ugh, you're not good enough. Like he's gonna be like, fuck yeah, you're amazing, like in all of it. And so make that list. And when you have that list, then go, okay, now I'm going to show up that way for myself. How can you show up that way for your feminine? How can you start embodying those energetics? Because before we even start, like, you know, we claim our desire for what we want, but before we start allowing our feminine to shine and our expression to come through, we have to feel safe. Like that's step one. We have to feel safe, and it starts by us showing up for ourselves. Can this be done internally with our masculine energy, both inner and masculine energy? Yes, so we use the external to really viscerally understand like what it is that we want, and then we start doing it for ourselves on the inside. So it really helps to be like, what are the traits that we want in a partner? how do we want them to show up for us? And then we start doing that for ourselves. So maybe, you know, it's that like being someone supported or devoted, or someone who celebrates you, or who, you know, celebrates your beauty, who like, whatever it is, who brings you flowers. Start bringing yourself flowers. You know, maybe it's someone who loves to watch you dance. Start dancing for yourself in the mirror. You know, whatever it is, like get specific, or it could be external or internal. Like, what is it that you want in a partner? And then start showing up for yourself in that way. So creating that, being your own muse, essentially, creating that balance between the masculine and the feminine. And so one way to do that is, as I mentioned before, is creating that container. So your inner masculine creates the container for your feminine to feel safe, to express, to be free. So the best example of this was, maybe you've heard of this experiment, but they had a bunch of kids in this yard, in this field, that didn't have a gate. And when there was no gate, no parameters, nothing limiting them, the children were all scared, and they were huddled together in the middle, and they weren't playing because it was like so big and scary to them. But once there was a gate that was placed, the kids started feeling safe, and they started to play, because they were like, okay, we have an outline here. You know, we have a parameter. We feel safe within these walls, within this barrier. And then they were safe to explore all parts of it. So they were expressing freely. And that's our inner child. And that's our feminine. She wants to feel held and feel safe. So how can you create that container for yourself? So once you make that list of like how you want that masculine energy to show up for yourself in your life, you do it for yourself, and then create a container for it. And containers are basically those safe spaces for you to expand, and they can look really different. Like with my clients, a lot of them want to show up more on Instagram. So one way of helping them do that is like, okay, find a safe space that allows you to feel safe. Like, don't start doing stories when you're out on the street or at a cafe and there's people around. Maybe that's like, I'm super introverted. That's really overwhelming for me. So a lot of people, you know, don't start there. Like, what's a safe space for you? For me, it's my bedroom. So I often recommend somewhere cozy, somewhere that feels good to you. And then give yourself like a timeline. Like, okay, for 3 weeks, I'm going to do a story a day. Or maybe it's like, I want to break through my fear of doing live. So for 1 whole week, I'm going to show up on live every single day. And that's your container. You know, that can be a container. Another container is relationships. And in relationships, you get to decide, you know, like, for example, in my current relationship, I was very clear from the start. I was like, my sensuality I'm very comfortable with. I can share it with the world, but my sexuality is very sacred. And for me to deepen intimacy emotionally, sexually, physically, all the things, it's like, I need it to be a one-on-one container. Those are my needs, and your needs are sacred, and you claim them. And that was me being like the masculine for myself, and standing in my desires and in my requirements. And that container, you know, some people could like want to be in the container with you or not. And then if they say yes, it's like, what happened from that space was like, okay, when he was on board, it was like, okay, now my feminine is safe to express, you know, now she feels free. And it was so liberating, because there was no more like, oh, is this safe? Can I, like, I couldn't even like open up. I was like, there was no pleasure there. Like, if you don't feel safe, you can't access states of pleasure. So claiming your desires and then standing up for them and inviting people into it, that's a container. So that is another container. And then of course, coaching is like one of the best containers. It's like when I'm coaching my clients, it's like, okay, like I'm the masculine container and I hold them, and it's a space, you know, it's a 3-month container. Here are the guidelines, and you get to express, you know, you can show up in Voxer when you're like having a moment, a breakdown, and like be witnessed in that. And I hold space for you and I guide you, and I'm the masculine in that. And then you get to express and be seen. And there's, again, I'll say it again and again, allowing yourself to be seen is the best medicine, to be seen without judgment, to be seen and held and loved. And we could do that for ourselves, and we can allow others to do that. So as like a little bit of homework, you can start thinking about what a container can look like for you. Sign me up. Yes. So I'll share about my new container. If you want to be supported and you want a container that I'm creating, and you want to deepen into this type of work, it's called Magnetic Muse, where you get to become the artist, the muse, and the masterpiece. So it's taking everything we talked about today and going one step further. Essentially, It's a 7-week group container where you become the artist, the muse, and the masterpiece. Like, what does that mean? It's really tapping in and diving deeper into these energetics, into the feminine, so that you can activate your magnetism, you know, release that fear of judgment, really start attracting what you desire without having to chase. So we're diving in to all of this. But at the end, and through this process, we're actually going to learn how to create and take photos through a photo shoot that you take of yourself. You learn to capture your own essence through photos and allow photo shoots to become that self-love ritual and that portal of transformation. So you're literally becoming the artist, the muse, and the masterpiece. So the artist is the masculine, the director, the one who sees. The muse is the feminine. She's the one who receives, who is seen, who is worshipped. And then the masterpiece is the creation. It's the photo shoot. It's the result of the sacred union of your masculine and feminine. So you're really bringing it all together. And the beauty of all this is, like, in action, you're going to be creating. In action, you're going to be learning and layering all these levels of, like, the feminine energetics, so that you have the confidence to start taking these photos and to start celebrating yourself and seeing yourself in that light. Because photo shoots on my journey, like taking photos, learning to allow myself to be seen by others, it really started with me seeing myself. And that's how you allow yourself to be seen by others. It's really being like, okay, I'm comfortable witnessing myself. And so whether you use these photos at the end, you know, at the end for your content, for your Instagram, you know, you're going to learn all the skills, the techniques to be able to take these photos, to have energetically aligned photos, to have that confidence to be photographed. But more so than that, it's really using this practice, this ritual, to allow it to transform you. You know, art transforms us through the process. You know, if you've ever been in a photo shoot, you know how vulnerable it is, how much it brings up. And yet it's something that we all need. You know, we live in a digital world. We're all online. We all desire and need to be seen. So this is a way to make it enjoyable, pleasurable, to make it actually meaningful. And as I mentioned, it's a layering process, and it's 7 weeks. And the week 1 is really claiming your desire. So a little bit of what we did today, but really learning how to be more receptive, to really anchor in all the feminine energetics, and to use emotions as your superpower. And then the week 2 is repatterning those beliefs. So any of those stories around shame, fear of judgment, we're going to learn how to break through those blocks, allow yourself to be seen, rewrite those stories. So anything coming up in our mind. So we start with the desire, then like all those stories, we rewrite them. And then everything that came up, we bring it through our body, of course, right? So how to turn the dark into art through the body. So this is moving the shadows, moving the fears that come through the body, through shadow dancing, emotional alchemy, sensual floor play. I'm obviously going to drop in a little bit of that. And then week 4 is divine feminine cycles. So this is really learning to flow with your body, your cyclical nature, and harnessing the creative power of each phase. And in this phase, we're also going to be choosing which archetype you're going to be shining a light on in your photo shoot. So like which one you want to highlight. And this is so powerful to pick one to play with, and to really allow her to express. And then finally, week 5 is become the artist. So this is actually learning the techniques to take photos, the poses, the more tangible, you know, skills, so that you have all the skills, knowledge to feel confident to take these photos, right? So then we'll pick your playlist, you know, we'll make a ritual for you so that you feel that confidence. I also teach like editing, even though I don't like to edit too much. These are some photos of like all the photos here, the photos that I took of myself when I was like, oh my God, in the darkest like time from when I was in Costa Rica. I was like in deep PMS. I had moved, I think like 11 times at that point. I didn't know where I was gonna live. I had photo shoots, like professional ones planned that week, and I was feeling bloated and tired and sad and grumpy. And then one morning I was like, I felt called to like I was like, oh, this tree is beautiful. Let me go like hang out with it. And then I created this photo shoot and I was like, oh, right. Like I'm a goddess, you know, like you remember your power. You're like, all this shit, like you come back to your body and your creativity and you're like, yeah, okay, I got me. Like, this feels good again. So it's a really powerful, 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 powerful practice. And then when you're coming back into that energy, that positive energy of pleasure, you can make better decisions from that place. You know, you show up better for yourself, you show up better for your people. And these are really like really crucial tools. And then of course, you know, having these skills, like you can take better photos. And then when you actually go to those professional photo shoots, you're ready, you know, you're more comfortable. So you get even more from those shoots that you're doing with someone else. And then finally, week 7. So week 6 is the integration week where you actually get to play and like take your photos. And then week 7 is the masterpiece, the final project, the celebration. And here you have the opportunity to share your creations, your photos with the group and be witnessed in this safe space. So you don't have to, of course, but after the 6 weeks, I'm sure that you'll want to. And the whole point is to allow yourself to be seen, especially in such a safe, intimate space where we're all going to have grown together. You know, there's going to be a group where we'll all be supporting each other. And when I did I hosted a Sensual Embodiment Sisterhood Circle in Costa Rica, and the last piece after like dancing and moving and all that stuff was to be witnessed in small groups and to witness each other in our expression and our dance. And every woman there was like, wow, that part was so transformative and so like it transformed us. Chelsea was there, she's sending a little fire emoji. Like it was everything, it was everything. So yeah, I'm like really excited about this program. It's like really everything from like the last like 10 years of like my experience working with women, working in business, working online, working in feminine embodiment, like in one program. And there's a special pre-party price for today. It's $555 for 48 hours, and then the price will go up. So this is the first round. So this is the lowest price that it'll ever be. So if this is something that you feel in your body, you're like, fuck yes, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. Or if you have questions, don't be shy. I would love to guide you in this. I'm gonna drop the link. Okay, I lost the chat box. Here it is. Here you go. Okay, I lost it. All right, so, okay, now I lost the page. Hang on. Here we are. Okay. All right, so does anyone have any questions? I'm gonna stop sharing because I can't find it anymore. Chelsea, love this so much, Serena. Yay, my pleasure. Is there a payment plan? Yes, there's a payment plan. So I'm gonna drop my email. You can email me directly. There's no payment plan on the website, but I can direct you for that. And is there any questions about the program, anything else? And then we're gonna go back also, there was a question before that I'd love to dive into a little bit. And if there's anyone else that has anything. I'm really excited for all of you to do the exercises. If you do them and you have any breakthroughs, or if you had any breakthroughs from today, please feel free to share. I love reposting you. I love seeing the shifts, because I know even in just like something like this, like today, like there's a lot that can happen, you know, like these codes are powerful, and yeah, just bringing awareness to it and just diving into those parts of ourselves. So journaling is going to be really powerful. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of shifts that already happen with just these pieces. How's everyone feeling? How does the group meet? So the group meets once a week. The schedule is going to be decided depending on who's in the group. in terms of like day and time. And yeah, and then there's going to be a group, either a Facebook group or Telegram. I haven't decided yet, but we're going to really be showing up in the groups and dropping questions and supporting each other. I really love that group energy, that group dynamic. So yeah. I don't have a business today. How can this help? Let me know if that answers your question, Birdie. And then Lydia, I don't have a business today. How can this help you in my personal? So yes, this is a great point. Great question. I forgot to mention this, but you don't have to have a business for this to be super valuable to you. We all have online presences. And even if you don't want to share these pictures online, the whole process is all about feminine energy, all about learning how to trust your body, trust your intuition, trust your emotions, how to transform all these pieces to empower yourself and allow yourself to be expressed and to show up. So we all are creative beings. You know, we all desire to be expressed and we all desire to be seen. And that's really what this program is. And the photo shoots and the photos are just used as a tool. So for you, they're going to be used as a tool, as a portal of transformation, as a self-love ritual to develop intimacy with yourself so that you can learn how to see yourself and witness yourself and celebrate and love yourself in all aspects. So it's a layering process and we go through the energetics so that by the time you come take the photos, you feel really confident, right? And you're like, okay, this is fun and playful and I get to express. So the 5 first weeks, it's like, how do I feel safe? Like, how do I develop this intimacy with myself and this confidence that you're going to develop throughout the weeks? And these are all tools that are going to benefit you in every aspect of your life. Like your relationships will get better. You're going to be able to start attracting like all the masculine energetics that you want, whether in the form of partners or money. But most importantly, it's really about the relationship you have with yourself and yeah, being able to see yourself. And when you see yourself, and what better way to see yourself than in photos? When you see yourself, you are way more comfortable allowing other people to see you, and then you are so much more confident expressing because you have that solid connection with you. Does that answer your question, Lydia? Yes, amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it's really fun. It's really fun. Like the feminine, like transforms everything. So what was the question from before? Oh, it was Maria. Did you want to hop on the video, Maria, if there was anything, if you wanted to ask your question? Or unmute yourself, you don't even have to be on video.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, I wanted to ask just how to express our emotions in business and to don't be too much icky, but to stay grounded and to be, I don't know, I have feeling that now is a trend to be vulnerable, but again, for me, seems very, I don't know. But I would like myself to express actually, but I don't know how to make a balance.
Okay, beautiful. Yes. Okay, I understand. So you're saying you're seeing a lot of people expressing and there's this kind of like, is it too much or are we using it? And there's like an ickiness that I'm sensing that you're like, but you want to still be vulnerable and you want to express.
Yes, yes.
So, okay. So what I would say is number one, you want to process the emotions with yourself first. So that's when the emotional alchemy ritual is going to come into play. So that's one of the practices that I teach is how do you take those emotions, pass them through your body, or just process them in a way where you're like, okay, I have the clarity, they've transformed me. I have the lesson that came from it, a deeper, higher perspective. I understand it. I understand the situation. I understand my emotions. And they're actually a gift now because our emotions and our darkness and the challenges that we go through are the tools to develop our superpowers and to develop our message and all the things. And so once we're able to process them and we feel really comfortable with our emotions, then showing up and sharing them, it's not manipulative. It's not sharing them to come from a place of like attention or validation or having someone solve the problem for us. You're actually, the key for it to feel good, what I've seen with my clients and with myself, for it to feel good when you share your vulnerability is for you to be really standing in your understanding of it and to have like a message that is like really clear and valuable. So it's standing in the knowingness where it's already like complete in a sense. So it's not like this open energy that you're like, oh, it's these emotions that I haven't processed and they're kind of all over the place and I'm just letting everybody in my field. It's like you're showing up and you're saying like, here's what I experienced, here are my feelings, and this is what I've learned from it, and this is why it's a valuable story to share, and this is why, because you don't want to share all your emotions when they're still like, you know, when they're like so open and they're not fully processed. You know, not everything needs to be shared. What is important to share though is our stories and our emotions when there's kind of like an intention with it, you know? And it could just be to express and to be seen in your expression and your art. But at the same time, it's like there's an element of it having been processed for you already. Do you see the distinction?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Like it's to speak after we process something as a story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I find it. And speaking from your heart, like in relationship, I think is really powerful, but also not speaking from like a trauma response. Because a lot of the time what's happening is like we're reacting and we haven't like actually allowed the emotions to land, move through our bodies and to become more love. You know, at the end of the day, that's what happens. It becomes more love and like, you're like, okay, my heart hurts. And I'm sharing that it hurts, but it's not coming from blame or from pointing fingers or anything like that. It's coming from a place of like openness. And that's really powerful in relationship. But when you're going online and you're sharing, you can also come from that place. But you, again, want to have it processed on your own first. So it's really tuning into yourself first before you go out into the world and like, okay, here it is, you know?
Yes, because I see that very often now that that business owners show up with emotions that they didn't process, and they like, this is to be honest, to be authentic, and it's very confusing.
And that's the thing. It's like for you, it's not resonating. It could be, I mean, it depends, right? It could be like triggering you. Is it a trigger or it's just something you're like, oh, I just don't like this?
More like I don't like this.
Okay,
it's
perfect.
like I feel that when I watch this, that person doesn't hold the space.
Okay.
I feel like this. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's a really great reflection and tuning into how it feels in your body and how you want to show up. Because sometimes if you're triggered by something, it could mean that like there's a part of you that wants to be expressed in that way. But now it sounds like you're more like, okay, do I have to do this? It doesn't feel good. Is there another way? So tuning in also to like what way would feel good for you to express. I think that's what this is mirroring back. Like maybe there's this feeling of like, oh, I have to show up in this way, but I don't want to. So taking that as an opportunity to reflect and decide like, what's a way that would make me and my feminine feel good and safe to express?
Yes, I understand. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Love this about being able to open your heart and not come from past trauma. Yes, that's huge, right? And that's why the processing on your own and processing through your body is really important, because we all have childhood trauma, right? We all have trauma. Not even just childhood, we all have trauma from like our whole life, right? And it's about, and that's why these tools are so important, whether or not you're you know, you have a business, like forget having a business, like just being a human, like all these tools are going to be so useful in every aspect of your life, because you learn how to just show up differently for yourself, you know, from this place of love and acceptance. And then how do you show up when you have these triggers, when you feel that fear of judgment? Like it's not going to 100% go away, right? But you get to show up differently. You get to show up in love. You get to show up in total acceptance, you know, for your messiness, for your wildness, for like your chaos, for your darkness. And you know how to process it. You know how to handle it. You know how to hold yourself. And that's what we'll be learning together. Okay, so Agnes, all these sexual photos trigger me a lot because I've been educated to always be the good girl. So I guess this program will help me a lot. Yeah, so that's a big one, right? When we get triggered, triggers are huge because triggers are actually gifts. They activate something inside us and it's like, ooh, okay, they show us what part of us desires that. They're actually the pathway to our desires, and they reveal what we really want, what part of us wants, you know? There is a part of us, so there's a part of you that's like, okay, to be loved and accepted, I have to be a good girl. And yet there's maybe a little bit of desire that maybe you don't want to express, like share your sexual photos, but there's a part of you that might want to be expressed in your sexuality, you know, a little bit more than you are. And that's curious about that. And that's like, how are these women doing that? So instead of, you know, so you might go to protect yourself. There could be a little bit of judgment that's coming up around these women, or maybe just, you know, allowing that to show up and to guide you to be like, okay, is there a part of me, you know, is there a part of you that wants that? And that's something we'll dive into, you know, triggers. It's super important to use them and to explore them and to welcome them, you know. I actually get excited now when I'm triggered. I'm like, ooh, okay, what is my desire here? Like, what do I have to explore? What part of me wants to be seen? So this is a great opportunity for you, Agnes. Yes. And I think this program, like, it's everything that changed my life and that helps all my clients. So like, I 100% believe in it. I think you'd have a really, great time in it. And it would really help you also to be around other women. I think a big wound is the sisterhood wound and fear of being judged by other women. That's something that comes up a lot. You know, we think it might be men, but a lot of the time it's other women that we're afraid of what they'll say. So there is something really healing about being seen and supported by other women. Like my biggest shifts have been with other women and being in circle and being guided by coaches and being seen by friends. And it's huge. So definitely. And then Murdy, yes. Beautiful awareness brewing. Oh, I love this. I love these questions. Amazing. Did that answer your question, Agnes? Is there anything else that came up for you? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to talk or pop in the chat. Maria, thank you again. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hi. Can I unmute myself?
Yeah, of course. Hey, hi.
Hi, everybody. So beautiful to be here with you today.
Thank
so
you.
Many just really beautiful words and a beautiful safety. And I wanted to just really say thank you for just some really big hitters, like just this negative positive. And I never looked at feminine, masculine. There's so much brewing for me now with the energetics, and so this is really hitting beautifully. And yeah, I'm really interested to know, like, as the weeks go by, like how like the energetics will certainly be a part of what we're doing. And everything in which you've encompassed, I feel like will flow right into this program, like all the things we touched on today. And just the feminine dropping deeper into trust and surrendering and alchemizing these emotions. These are big, huge things, like the wounded masculine. And so thank you for really creating safety in the trauma piece, because that's a really big part for a lot of us. And so I really thank you for that. And really opening to this state of pleasure and looking forward to what this course will bring, because I think that pleasure piece is really something that I'm really open to embodying deeper. So just thank you overall.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. Yeah, the pleasure piece, it's like we almost forget that it's like our birthright. It's not a reward, you know, we get to exist in pleasure. Like it gets to come first, you know, the feminine leads. Like we get to exist in these states where we don't have to punish ourselves and we get to love ourselves. So yeah. Oh,
exactly. And that hits because I think for me, it was always like chores first, and you have to do all these things first, and the timelines first, and this really, really forceful overdrive masculine first. And I see the shift that's happened because the masculine, I just really resonated with me when you said like, yeah, like setting up the containers. And I'm in such beautiful containers right now that I'm like, wow, I appreciate that masculine inside setting up that container for my feminine who really needs the support right now. Like I see that differently, like the way it's coming through. Like, thank you really so much for that.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. And that's the thing, right? It's also that safety piece. And that's why it's like, you know, I could have just been like, yeah, like photo shoots as a self-love ritual. And like, yes, but it takes a lot to get to that point. It takes a lot of those safety pieces. And that's kind of the bonus, right? That's like, okay, we get to do that. There's so many layers of like deconditioning and then holding ourselves and taking like baby steps, you know, like taking our time and just doing it slowly. And the ripple effects from this program are going to keep coming. You know, this is going to be like a strong container where it's going to activate a lot. And then over time, it's like, it's going to keep like these tools and transmissions and codes are going to keep transforming you. And it's going to be every time you go through that process. It's, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I felt your energy so much throughout this. I saw you like really like expressive and it really like inspired me. So thank you. Yes, Agnes. Okay, beautiful, happy. Yes, the desire to be expressed. That's what it is. And it's just following those threads, right? It's like tuning into your body already and being like, okay, there's this desire to be expressed. What next step can I take? Like, how can I hold myself? So yeah, you're ready. Your desire's there. Lydia, thank you for wanting to help others. Yes, my pleasure. I mean, this has been a hell of a journey, you know? So for me, like, I love seeing people in their authentic expression and lights me up and inspires me. And it was so hard for me to get here that I'm like, okay, I want to help people do this. And the program starts in June. So I wanted it to start after Mercury retrograde because it's not the time to launch things. So even this masterclass, I was like, okay, I'll do it during Mercury retrograde, but I'll take my time for the program. So I'm thinking like either the 1st or 2nd week of June, because Mercury goes direct, I think the 3rd or 4th. So yeah, and then it depends. Like we can, yeah, I would say probably mid-June, and then we meet once a week. And I feel like it's a really great program to do over the summer months. It's like, because it is fun and playful and it's more like energy based. Yeah. Thank you, Maria. So happy it was valuable. Chelsea, yeah, love you. Yes, warm weather for photos, actually being able to go outside because natural light is the best. Are the meetings held in the day or evening? So I prefer the day. I would say day, but if there's like a majority of people that are evening, we can discuss, but I would say day as much as possible. What would you prefer, Lydia? What are you thinking? I'm curious. If people are interested, let me know if you would be more interested in day or evening. I'll do a poll as well. Yeah, to start the day off right. Yeah, same. I love starting the day and like I have more energy. I feel like evening, it's like we're all tired and we just want to chill and eat, cuddle. If you're pregnant, yes. Oh my God, tapping into the feminine when you're pregnant. It's so funny. One of my clients last, I was gonna say semester, but like last season, she was pregnant and like we did a lot of this work and she actually, I helped her to basically, you know, create a ritual and curate and plan a photo shoot for when she would be pregnant. And it turned out so beautiful. So I think, yeah, it would be amazing to like really embody that self-love. especially through this process where your body's changing, your energy is changing, you're really tapping into the mother archetype. Yeah, I think that would be perfect. Okay, which day, Lydia? Going back to the office end of June, so home only twice a week. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Yeah, so Lydia, let me know like which days you're feeling, and then like we'll figure something out. I'm sure it will work. I want it to be a small, intimate group to start. So we're not going to be that many since it's the first round. So which is going to be really nice because we're going to have a lot of like time to really dive into a lot of things and Q&As at the end, and really dive into all these practices and energetics. I don't know, for me, Tuesdays sound good. I'm just sharing what's popping up. Tuesdays in the day, because today, what day is it today? Thursday? Tuesday or Thursdays is good. Definitely not a Monday or a Friday. So Tuesday or Thursday. Is there any other questions? 12:30, oh, that's good time. It was so nice connecting with all of you. I feel like I really felt amazing energy here today. And to all of you watching the replay, if you have questions, don't be shy, DM me on Instagram or email me. And if any of you also that are here live have other questions, I love voice noting on Instagram, big fan of the voice notes, so pop in there. Yeah, and I'll be sending out an email with the replay as well for everyone that's here. Thank you, Chelsea, sending you love too. So any last questions? I think that's it. All right, love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for caring about the feminine and anchoring it on this planet. Have an amazing, amazing day. Bye.